Wonderful things have happened this year, as well as some hideous things. So first, the bad news. All Americans know, or should know, of Governor Northam of Virginia, whose description of what happens when an abortion fails woke up quite a lot of the population. Suddenly, there was outrage. He was, of course, describing infanticide, the infant alive, lying on a table, although starving, while the mother and her abortionist decide whether the child should live or die. People were absolutely shocked to find that we do that sort of thing here and justify it. Do you remember what you were doing this past February 25th, 2019? Sometimes we who are living through history don't know that we are living through or making history. February 25th is the day the U.S. Senate voted down a bill to criminalize those doctors who do not provide life-saving care to babies born alive during an abortion. In other words, it's okay to let the baby die on the table. The next day was back to normal for most people, but the children's blood cried out to God from the ground. The good news, 2 movies out and 1 due to come out soon, I hope. The first, Gosnell, America's biggest serial killer. The most shocking thing to me was the revelation that what Gosnell did and what he went to jail for are the same things that the best abortion clinics do, the same techniques. Yes, we do that sort of thing here. And what's the difference anyway? If you can kill the child right up to 9 months, surely a few hours or so later, it's also okay. The second movie, Unplanned, the story of Abby Johnson, a former Planned Parenthood director who had had 2 abortions herself and was responsible for about 22,000 more. She repented, and she became a courageous advocate for pro-life. One of the most important reasons that you must see this brilliant movie is that it provides you a talking point. It's a resource to get the conversation started. And when you watch the opening scene, please know that it is the real Dr. Anthony Levatino playing himself, and not in a flattering way. He was the one who had performed thousands of abortions and who bitterly repented and testified before Congress, begging them to face the truth. Please let that opening scene really resonate with you, because Abby had worked at that facility for 8 years and only realized what was happening when she saw the baby trying to escape his killer. Glenn Beck has said that he thinks this movie is so profound and so astounding that it could change the nation. My own goal is not so much to make abortion illegal as to make it unthinkable. People do change their minds. This movie, I think, is a love letter across the fence of some very miserable politics. The third movie, the real story behind Roe v. Wade. The filmmakers have, of course, met with all kinds of difficulties, even with paid advertising being blocked. Funny how a lot of people don't want the truth to come out about Roe v. Wade. Anyone who researches will find it a shocking in the extreme. The filmmaker read 40 books, including personal recounting of how this heinous thing went down. 2 of the Supreme Court justices had relatives working at Planned Parenthood. These movies are must-see movies. We have killed 60 million babies so far. It is beyond my comprehension that any Christian could defend or support this practice of the taking of vulnerable and innocent lives. The fourth good thing that happened this year is that Georgia passed the heartbeat bill, making an abortion illegal once the heartbeat is detected. We were privileged to be in the gallery at the Capitol for the Senate debate on this. It was absolutely riveting. with the word choice being used repeatedly, but never revealing what that choice was. You know, the word choice has an attachment to it, and that attachment is the right to take a life. The pro-abortion side failed to answer the question as to why they have the moral right to take a life. They failed to give criteria as to when it is okay to snuff out a life in the womb. And they failed to answer the question as to why a 6-month-old child has more moral value than a 6-month-old unborn child. I'm not naive enough to think that this will stop all abortions, but at least Georgia took the first right step. And as it is said, abortion not only kills once, it kills twice. It first kills the baby, and then it kills the conscience of the mother. As per Psalm 106, history has repeated itself as they, our forefathers, poured out the blood of innocent children and made the land filthy. By so doing such gruesome things, they also became filthy. There are so many scriptures that speak directly to this barbarity. Proverbs 24:11. Rescue those who are unjustly sentenced to death. Don't stand back and let them die. Don't try to avoid responsibility by saying you didn't know about it. And this is where the church has so desperately failed its members. With the exception of the Catholic Church, the church has been too fearful and too apathetic to stand for the truth. Have we lost our moral sense of revulsion? Where did we get the right to be silent? Sometimes what everybody thinks they know is wrong, and I always feel compelled to tell you this, that the one thing that is almost universally believed is that you must have an exception clause for the life of the mother. And it simply isn't true. Hundreds of OBGYNs and nurses and doctors are speaking out and saying that it is never necessary to kill the baby for the health of the mother. Please don't allow yourselves to be deceived on this one. And if you don't know how to respond when someone pleads that there must be an exception clause for rape, abortion is not the answer, because then you have one damaged and one dead.